Have this feeling, haven't felt for so long. Took a hold of me and won't let go. I've been sleeping, caught me off my guard. Cause you're in my space and now I'm so pull me towards you and I cannot fight it. My head's underwater, I try to disguise it. Want you to hold me, though we haven't spoken. I need that something to get me to open. You are only a shot away from me to be my everything. Cause you are only a shot away from me to be my everything. You are only a shot away from me to be my everything. Cause you are only a shot away from me to be my everything. Shot
I had to crack it open just a little bit.
Won't let you go to my head. Cause I know I'm dealing with the devil. But I'm standing with my heart in your hand. And I'm too deep into win this gamble. Pull me towards you and I cannot fight it. My head's underwater, I try to disguise it. Want you to hold me, though we haven't spoken. I need that something to get me are only a shot away from me to be my everything. Cause you are only a shot away from me to be my everything.
Hey, hi Nauticals!
Hi guys.
Thanks so much for being here. Happy Crusade Tuesday and Taco Tuesday. It's National Taco Day today. So you gotta, shout out to the taco cats.
Have extra tacos for me because I won't have any.
Hannah does not care for Mexican food like the spicy or just not a
It's just a
preference.
combination of flavor. Well, I don't like American, like authentic traditional Mexican food. I like more, but like Americanized Mexican food, like Taco Bell, don't like any of it. Hi, Mary Ellen.
So good to see everybody. So before I say too many hellos, I want to, Anthony is looking lovely tonight in that little black dress, says Crazy Cat Traveler. Beautiful. I want to connect you to my man. I wasn't sure if this would work or not, but he is live from Florida. From Florida.
Gaming Capiel.
Hey, hey.
And
So
Dylan Seaman.
here is my man. Here's Anthony.
Like a horse show.
Hello. Oh, you're muted.
Did we mute you?
No, I don't
Yeah.
think we muted him.
I'm muted. I'm unmuted now.
There. Cannot mute the guests because they chose to mute
Oh, we did
themselves.
not mute that.
Well, we decided to go with a little special effects tonight because really, it's actually
really pound in the experience that has happened.
Yeah. So, do you want to say hellos first? Or
Yeah, we can do hellos. That's great.
Hannah's already cranking
I'm
out
saying
the
hi to
hellos.
the people that say hi to me. And say hi to me. I'll try and say hi back.
Anthony Simone, thank you so much for being here. Much love to the Mod Squad.
Love.
Derek just had a birthday, so he's going out for his birthday tonight. He has the day off.
Happy birthday.
Definitely. And Blaine from Rayleigh Creative Travel is just about to get in the chat. So, oh, Crazy Cat says, forgetting the mute button was the theme of the day at work today. Don't you love it when you have meetings and you're like waiting?
Or
and
if
you're
you
waiting?
forget to mute yourself when there's
Unmute.
background noise.
Oh, yeah.
And then suddenly there's like someone walking into that random conversation behind you.
Yeah.
Hi, Crazy
Yeah,
Cat.
that's not going to
Traveler.
work very well.
Yeah,
We're trying to get rid of this dark
Hashtag
side over here.
Timothy Walters, hello.
Hi, Chris Finney. And Mary Ellen Dillon, Stephen Hall,
Patty Monk. Now
Jim
we're
and-
just listing people.
Jim and Annette Thalman. Good to see everybody. Masters Game. Kathy L. Margie Butcher. Hey, Twinny.
Ashley Ratliff. Hello,
Yeah,
Ashley.
Anthony, what were you saying? You were
Oh,
saying
Ashley Ratliff.
No, before that, something about the lighting.
Oh, I'm just trying to get the lighting right. It's kind of
Oh,
weird. It's kind of
you're
wonky.
good.
tonight.
And of course, live stream night means dog playtime.
Norma, thank you for
Just
being
asked to be
here.
in
See the world with Chris is here.
Oh, Chris and Laura, hello, you guys.
Hope Faith. Hello. And Chris Finney.
And Rick Spencer, hello.
Dave Whiting,
Eric Granger.
trying to hit them all. It's hard. Oh,
You
Dylan.
already have.
Dylan
Dylan
Seaman is here.
Seaman.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Tracy
the,
DeLipro.
wait. Thank you for the super chat, Dylan. Let me just pull that up here.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks,
thank you.
Anthony and Nancy. Been a while. Cheers. Good to see you. So
Thanks
good to
for
see
stopping
you.
by. Always
Dylan.
a pleasure.
Thank you for
Patty
that.
Monk is in the house. Doc Nerd. Good
Yes,
evening.
the Odyssey. Hello.
That's Paul. That's our trucker
Paul.
friend, Paul.
She acts like as if I know Paul.
You know Paul. No, you don't.
Jim and Annette
Someday.
Thalman are in the house.
Yeah. Holly Ayers, you
Hi,
sweet
Holly.
Holly. Mercy.
See Life with
Rodriguez.
us.
What'd you
New
say?
to the channel. Came over from Lolita Loca. Tony sent her.
Oh, nice.
See Life with us.
Oh,
OIFE.
wonderful. And Mercy Rodriguez, always wonderful to see Mercy and Lorenzo here. Thank you for being here.
Yes, very
Mercy.
much. Julie Amos says she loves your hair down, baby.
Oh, wow. I was
I
really.
was telling, she was like, do you think I should put it up or down? I think I should put it up. And I was like, no, you should leave it down. You like never have your hair down. I think it looks really nice.
I get tired of it and then it just has to go up.
I know. Well,
Crazy
especially
Cat Traveler has a
yellow,
funny
but
comment.
like
So Crazy Cat Traveler says, feline background noises are one of the reasons I'm glad to be back in the office. Nothing like a perfectly timed mid-meeting hairball sound.
Oh, that is no good. We know that sound. That is not a good sound.
Yeah. Life is good today. Woo!
Woo! Ronnie and Alva. Thank
Yes.
you.
I
Hannah had
just got
to.
up to turn the
Carl,
fans on because we
CMPJ
get
519.
overheated doing this.
Hello.
So, oh, that feels so much
Yeah,
better.
welcome everybody. Kathy L. Who else here?
Ruth Todd.
Truth Todd.
So let's get
CB
into the,
Traveling.
let's get into the show.
Yes.
The
Oh,
Z,
speak,
the Z
speak.
Show Cruise Fun thinks that you're lying, that you're not really in Florida, that you're really in Vegas, baby.
Well, you should recognize some of the things like the picture over here. So,
So Carl's
You
in
got
the
the
chat,
crosses here.
CMPJ 519. And Dave and Brandy. Hello, everybody. So good.
yes.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. We have had quite the week.
Craziness.
Yes, quite the
So,
week.
We are a cruise
Even
channel. We have a
Rosario.
passion for cruising,
Very
but
cool.
this week we had some events.
Yes,
You want to
just
go
a
into
couple.
it a little bit, Anthony?
Well, I started the week. If you guys remember from last Tuesday, I was in Vegas, and so that was on Tuesday. Tuesday evening, we were supposed to get this. We had Hurricane Ivan coming in. We actually had paid somebody to come to the house and prep the house for the hurricane, and they didn't come. So, So we were quite concerned about what was going on down here.
And by
Um,
prepping the house, it means closing up the hurricane
Closing up the
shutters.
windows, yeah, putting the hurricane shutters in
It's like
place.
bringing furniture inside from the pool area, like normal things that you
Yeah.
would do if you're expecting severe
A
weather.
big storm.
Yeah. We had forgotten one thing on our list, which was the garbage cans, which we will not forget at any time in the future here.
We have a whole list of how to close the.
Yeah, so how to close the house up. But we had
down.
forgotten those. So, anyways, we were watching the cameras a little bit as this was coming about, and the power got knocked out here at 2:14 local time. I could tell that from the clocks. So we lost power down here at the house at 2:14.
Mhm.
The battery backup system ran for another 3 hours on the cameras, and the internet ran for another hour and a half-ish. But we lost internet connection before that at some point. But the
So
system
we
was
were
up.
blind. So if you
Yes,
don't
we were
know,
blind.
we have a house in Wisconsin. Where's our main?
Which is where you're at.
Primary residence is in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
And then
and-
we just recently, a year ago, bought a house in Florida,
Yeah.
and so that's where Anthony is right now. But he usually is
Yeah.
in Wisconsin. But this Hurricane Ian changed all the plans.
Yeah, right. So the thing is that I kind of started to know Wednesday that I was going to need to start coming to this, coming here. It was kind of becoming apparent that we didn't know what was going on, especially from the ferocity of the storm. Category 4 storm hits landfall.
Kept ramping up. It just
Yeah.
kept getting worse. They're like, oh, it's going to be this bad. And then they're like, oh, it's actually going to be worse. And then they're like, oh, it's actually going to be worse.
And obviously, a lot of us have kind of followed the storm, but it was supposed to go in Tampa mostly,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
it went
drifted.
south. And
Yeah.
our home is located in Port Charlotte.
Yep. And we have a number of people who are in the chat tonight that are in Florida, that some of them
Mhm.
did go through that. So
Yeah.
hats off to everybody who actually wrote it out, physically wrote it out, and then
Very.
are dealing
we
with it
were-
now. Yeah,
we were
really.
watching the news channels and stuff
Yes.
about it. And like
See
the
Life with Us
flooding.
says prayers to all who are affected by the storm. Absolutely. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of devastation. down here.
Definitely.
We'll get into that.
Dylan
So-
says, glad you are safe. Ian, holy moly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Z Show Cruise Fund says the same thing. Please pray for those. Yeah. it's-
Sherry Awesome Sunsets in the house. We're praying for
Yes.
you, girl. Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah. Please
Yeah.
continue to pray.
yeah, big mess.
So Wednesday night I was actually thinking about grabbing a late night flight that would have got here at 5 a.m, but talking to Nancy, she kind of talked some sense into me. Yeah, I know my parents were going to the beach this past weekend, but now the
Mhm.
weather got cool. Yeah, it's actually been quite cool since the hurricane
The
came through.
after storm effect.
Yeah.
So there's a cold pressure front that was coming down.
Coming down.
So so when we Nancy kind of talked some sense into me, because I would be up all night trying to get in here, didn't know what the roads are going to be like, not really sure what was going to take place.
He was going to go in Tuesday night, right?
Wednesday
Or
night
Wednesday night. Yeah.
into Thursday morning. Yeah.
Speaking of Z Show, people can't go to the islands.
Yeah.
Mom has a specific
Yeah.
thing about
Yeah. We
that.
get, yep.
Yeah.
Your island.
Sanibel Island, Sanibel Captiva have been evacuated, as has been Pine Island.
And
Both of
Sanibel
those-
was
The bridges have been destroyed.
Yeah,
in
the bridges
Sanibel
have been
Island.
destroyed.
Sanibel
As well
has
as
a,
down near Marco Islands. They have some issues there down there. too.
Sanibel has a special meaning for us. We honeymooned at Sanibel Island.
Mike from Nebraska, sup?
So we
Yeah.
we have a special connection to
Yeah.
Sanibel. We honeymooned there, and we went back 10 years for our 10-year
Yeah.
anniversary.
That
And
little baby.
it has we took the whole fam.
I don't
there.
remember it. I was too little, but I went there apparently.
Yeah. It would be really cool to hear if anybody was in the chat was on a cruise ship during this last week. To hear if there's anything
I
that
know
was
the
going
cruises
on.
got diverted. The cruise ship.
Specifically the Caribbeans. Like we would love to.
Yeah,
hear
but there's
from
still going to be some
Alaskan
other effects
cruise,
from it,
but-
right? So Tuesday's an interesting time. I mean, it kind of cleared up as everybody would be further south. So that was
So
kind of
then you
sitting here.
came down to Florida on Wednesday.
So I came down on Thursday actually.
Wednesday's
Thursday
when
morning.
we got hit.
Yeah.
Thursday is when Yeah,
Yep.
the storm got bad for us on
Yep.
Wednesday.
So there was no flights into anything on the Western coast. The only place I could get into was Atlanta or into Miami. So I flew into Miami on Thursday morning. And then I rented a car there because we had no vehicle. So I rented a car there and drove up to the property. It wasn't, I collected some goods while I was in Miami as well as, as long as I was there, and things are open, and then headed north. When I got to Missanagua, I think is the name of the place, which is halfway on the on Alligator Alley. The first thing I noticed on Thursday was the gas lines had already started there as I was driving in.
But the first thing that you got before you even came in was a generator.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I picked up some supplies while I was
Yeah.
in Miami. Yeah.
We didn't have a generator at that point.
Yeah. So we didn't know what we were going to need. I got some stuff kind of not knowing what the state of the house was, not hearing anything. Finally got a hold of our next door neighbor, Rich, is right next door. Nice guy.
Been an excellent neighbor. Really
He's an
great.
excellent neighbor. And finally got a hold of him. He doesn't answer his phone much unless, he happens to be by it. But anyways, he ended up answering his phone and kind of found a little bit of the details out. Got to the property, and what we thought we would have as a huge disaster ended up turning out to be a very, very, very messy situation, but not really a disaster. So that was some good news. Overall, the house is in fair shape. We took a little bit of
We
damage.
got
on
a
the
couple of
outside.
comments coming in real quick. Debbie Harrison they were on the Ecstasy last week, had rough seas several nights, but no storms. The
Okay.
nice thing about cruises, I think, when these
They
storms
can
are happening,
avoid 'em.
they get
Yeah.
to avoid them. So Debbie, were
Yeah.
you delayed then? I wonder about that. And then
Yeah.
Michelle B says, my cousin was on Liberty of the Seas. They switched 2 ports, but she still had a blast. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Mike from Nebraska has an interesting comment there just
Yeah,
below
that's
that.
actually a fair point. It is.
Yeah, so I
supposed to
think
be
extra
more
day
of
on
a
cruises
burden
due to
than
the
a-
hurricane, but I really think of plane tickets, home sitters, pet sitter, school work. Yeah, more of a burden than a blessing.
For a lot of
Exactly.
people, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
have, it matters how flexible
Yeah,
your
it
schedule
depends
is.
on the person, but
Obviously.
obviously, I mean, a lot of people are going to have plans
Yeah.
that they need to get back to. By
Whether
the time
you
it's
have,
done,
like,
it's done.
Travel insurance, all of that goes into effect.
Yeah.
And hello, Sharon Etsy, and everybody else who has joined us now.
So got in kind of a little late on Thursday eventually, just because going from Vegas to Florida, you lose 4 hours in addition to a 5-hour flight. So
And that was all unplanned,
Yeah.
totally unplanned.
So it kind of all worked out. I got here, we have a number of trees that are down, that were down. We've since rectified some of that. Been kind of working to kind of clean some stuff up. The electricity has been, we had no electricity, no water, no internet. And a lot of roads were shut down. In fact, the road that we're on was actually completely closed down just to the west of our property. So had I tried to come in on Thursday morning, I wouldn't have even gotten to the house because it was actually closed between the highway and our house.
So
So-
Debbie said that they were not delayed, but they did swap days for their cruise. So I wanted to just say too, this whole time that you were heading in, we really thought that our house could be completely underwater, like so many houses are. So many houses. A lot of Port Charlotte was underwater. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
at
yeah.
least
The news, I mean, the
Feet
news
of water.
stations were showing like intense flooding.
Yeah. So what happened with our area? So we're right on a canal that's connected right to the Peace River, which the Peace River is still at 26 feet, which is 20 feet above its normal state. So
Peace River goes right out into the Gulf of
yeah,
Mexico.
right out into the Gulf of Mexico, but it is quite high still further inland from all the rains. But we're right on the Peace River, and we easily thought that we were going to get hit. The way that the winds came at the property
Hit with the flooding.
with the flooding.
We did get hit
So-
with the hurricane.
Yeah, but the way the winds came, they actually pushed all the water out of the canal. According to Rich, he said it was completely empty. He had never seen it completely empty. And he said there's a few things on the bottom that probably should get out of there. It's kind of interesting. So I'm going to try and find out from him what he meant by that comment. But all of the water went out of the canal. So we didn't actually have any water in the canal during the hurricane. And therefore, when the rains came and other things later on, it wasn't so bad. Now, when I got here, the water was actually right up to the top of the seawall, which is a little bit dangerous, but it has since receded from there. So yeah, in general, we're mostly blessed. The deal is just working with the neighbors. So of the 5 houses on our street, 3 of them lost a roof.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of actual flood damage, water damage happened.
When your roof gets taken
So
off.
Blaine asked any flood damage due to water near you.
Yeah.
Our carpets were dry when we came back. Thank God. But they were. We did not have any kind of flood. We had other damage, but not flooding damage.
Yeah, no flood damage at all. No rain damage from that perspective. We had a little bit of rain in the garage where the water had blown in. Probably about, just a real small puddle, but it just needed to be removed. Other than that, we were fine. We lost 2.
Oh, you were talking about the neighbors though, baby.
Yeah. So the 3 of our neighbors, they lost their roof. One of them just lost the roof. They actually had shingles underneath it and no real damage to the house other than the fact that they lost half of the steel roof that was on top of the shingles on their roof.
Wow.
The other neighbors are just right over here, just to the west of us. They actually had their pool cage collapse. So yeah, we lost all the screens on our pool as well as all the neighbors did. So all the screens,
Everybody is
they
missing
just
all their
they,
screens.
yeah. So
I gotta be
but they actually had their
like things are gonna hit it and tear
Yeah.
through it. So
they had a 2-story pool cage, and that actually toppled and pulled part of their roof down, which ended up causing water damage.
Major water damage. Yeah.
And then the other neighbor had shingle roofs, and they lost the entire side of that. And then the plywood that was on the roof had all blown off. So all that was left was just the rafters and then going down. So they ended up with a lot of water damage in their house.
Yeah.
But they're actually still living in it. So they were able to rent. They had a demo company come in and rip out all the bad stuff right away, and then put up plastic on that side, and they're living on the other side of it right now.
Wow.
While they wait for
So
everything.
Sharon at Sea Travel says, "Thank God for that canal situation. Bless the
Yeah,
earth. Good things
absolutely.
happen to good people."
Yeah.
But you know what? There's just so many good
there's
people that
good-
got harm done
Yeah.
too, for sure.
So-
it's really a
Deb
tragedy.
said, "Been
mean-
praying so hard for you guys. Safe travel to Florida.
Yeah,
Thank God your
yeah.
house survived. I can't believe the house
I
survived."
know,
that
and
we
in
weren't
such good shape
underwater.
That it was.
And look at Roger Beck even said, "Hey Roger, thank you for coming over. We
Yeah.
love Lalita Loca as
Oh, we
well.
love
So
Tony.
we're Loca
Thank
fans
you, Tony.
for sure. We have a niece and family in
Oh,
Port Charlotte.
Roger.
All is well with them.
Good to
Roger's
hear.
So
Yeah, I mean, if you guys-
so happy.
If you know of anybody down here who is needing some additional help with just anything down in this area, feel free to put it in the comments. We'll try and read through those and catch up as much as we can. Right now, I'm actually without a car. That should be solved by tomorrow.
yeah.
Yeah. We
So,
had okay, so if you followed our car scenario,
yeah. So I had a rental car that I brought down. There's
Wow.
been no gas down here because of just the situation.
Even more preface for why you needed the rental, Dad.
Yeah, well, because I was coming into Miami.
yeah.
Oh well, true. You got to get to the airport from the airport.
Yeah, so I had to get from the airport to here, and I
To
didn't
all the
want
way
to take.
yeah.
Yeah, and I
North
didn't want to try and trust an Uber or a Lyft for that distance. Although one of the guys I work with is in Charleston, South Carolina, and he could not get in. He could only get into Charlotte, so he had to take a Uber from Charlotte over to Charleston, which cost him $300 in a
Oh
Tesla.
wow.
So
Oh
that
my
was
God.
an interesting story
Whew.
too.
Dylan is
Today he
asking
got hit, too.
surges. Were there surges?
Yeah, so it did go up and down, and we're seeing still some of the effect of that, especially the inland flooding. I actually made a trip up to Sarasota on Sunday. So gas situation I was just talking about was is really still quite difficult down here.
Terrible. But your gas prices are down, way
They are,
down.
yeah. We're paying in the local area. It's like $3.10 a gallon down
They
here.
are over $4.
They're
We're like
$2.99 in some
$4.20.
areas.
We're like
Yeah.
$4.20 a
Yeah.
gallon. It's gone.
If
way
you can
up.
find it. The problem is finding it. It's actually getting a little better today. Every day it's getting a little bit better. The refinery shut down and was only running one lane for a couple of days, and that just doesn't, as well as gas stations were completely out, didn't have generators, no way to start the pumps. There's no internet for a lot of the area, so there's no credit cards, cash only. There's a limited amount of cash because the Federal Reserve removed a lot of cash from the area in the event that banks were damaged. So there's just a lot of problems that are going on.
There are a couple of different questions in chat that I think we're gonna address. quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tess asked, hi Tess, Salmon.
Hello.
So it said, I know hurricane insurance is expensive. Does it really cover all the possible damage that you might have? It's really flood insurance and then homeowners insurance.
Flood
Right.
insurance.
Flood
is the
insurance
really
is
important
very expensive, and we were mandated to have that. To
Yeah,
get it
FEMA
mortgage.
mandates that, right?
Had to have it.
And then our
And
homeowners
It is
insurance
quite
because of,
expensive. It's
Yeah.
worse than the homeowners for sure for how
Yeah.
much
I
it
mean,
costs.
this type of scenario shows why it's necessary, though, because the fact that our house didn't get flooded was by pure chance because the winds weren't blowing in that direction.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like it was seriously chance. Otherwise,
sure.
we would have had flood damage, most likely.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's some
Brittany
reasons-
has a good point too. She thinks that future hurricanes are going to be compared to Ian in any state going forward.
Yeah, actually, it bumped Charlie from number 4 down to number 5.
Yeah.
So Charlie is now number 5. Number 4 is Ian. There's still 3 that were a bit worse than
Katrina.
Katrina,
that.
yeah.
The Katrina
Yeah.
was up there. Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
over. We're talking just for the Florida area is what I'm talking about.
What about
okay.
the Gulf hurricane?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So Crazy Cat
Oh,
says,
Katrina was
do
a
we have
Gulf
to
hurricane.
worry about gray or sewer water getting in with all that flooding? We have places that do that when they have flooding. So the gray water backing up.
Yeah, so that is a problem in a lot of areas. If you have public sewer, in fact, I took a walk today. I was walking down through Port Charlotte and some of the areas that were flooded. There's a lot of areas that were flooded over. The thing that's really strange is the number of fish that are sitting in the sides of the roads because they swam up into the area, and then as the waters receded, they were
Oh my
trapped.
gosh.
I don't even know if it's swimming. I think part of it is they're getting
Pushed.
drugged. They're getting drugged towards it.
Yeah,
There's
so there's just
actually
a
fish sitting on the side of the road.
on the side of the road, dead. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind
Oh,
of a
that
weird.
kind of must smell
That
bad.
has-
Yeah,
that
it
doesn't
does.
smell terrible.
Yeah,
Dylan
So-
asked if our neighbors are okay. I believe all
yeah.
the
So our neighbors are
are.
okay.
They're
Yeah.
safe.
So Mark and
It's a good
Catherine
way
are well.
to
Rich
really
is
get
good.
close to the neighbors, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really builds your community.
Rich mostly survived. He lost a number of fences that he
Let's
had
not
in his
say
property.
names, baby.
Oh, sorry. So our one neighbor lost a bunch of fences and trees, a lot of trees. The other neighbor, yeah, we talked about their pool situation. And then the other ones that are up near the front of the street, great couple. They're the ones with the partial roof removal. The other guy
But
that's
they're all safe, right?
yeah, everybody's safe. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's doing well in this area. We didn't really have any real things. Most of the people vacated this area except for my next door neighbor here. He did not. He's the only one who stayed. What was really weird is waking up Friday morning, looking across, A, not seeing all the trees in the property,
Mhm.
and then B, seeing a 52-foot houseboat that was parked in the canal. That one of the other neighbors had brought in. Yeah, he's a
Oh,
brother-in-law.
wow.
of
Just
one of the
a
neighbors.
park
It's
there.
like
Like
they
a
rented-
second
Did they rent
living?
it? Did they rent
No,
it?
it's just at their house. It's just parked in there. It's over on the other side of that house there
Oh,
by the
so
big
many
big
roads-
house. Yeah.
So many boats got damaged from
Yeah.
the
So
flood.
actually, that boat went pretty well. I'm pretty sure it was dry docked for a while the canal was empty. But yeah, it's in much better shape as to where it was in.
Oh,
So
Julie Amos is over $6 a gallon for gas in California.
yeah, that's
Oh,
crazy.
That's
Julie.
what
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Cruise Tips TV
Yeah.
was saying that too.
Cra-
Oh, Cruise Tips TV. Holy
Oh,
cow, Cher. Good to see you.
welcome.
I'm blown away.
Yeah. So the big thing is just trying to get power on. Power's a big issue. Water came on, but we had a boil thing until Monday. So we were in a boil area. Yeah, boil order until
I mean, part
Monday.
of that is probably due to the sewage stuff, because I'm sure water lines.
No, it's because
No?
the lines get drained out, and
You
then
don't think they get contaminated?
yeah, there's none of the treated water against the pipe, so it ends up it can grow mold a little bit while it's just moist.
Well, it doesn't have
Yeah.
the flow.
Well, it doesn't have the
Oh.
flow, so that's the issue that they have.
We have a gas discussion in chat now.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Right.
discussing their gas.
So gas is an amazing thing, right?
It really is.
I mean,
So if you don't have electricity,
electric power is great because there's a lot of renewable ways to create it. However, emergency power, you cannot beat gasoline because what are all generators? Gasoline, fuel.
or propane, gasoline, propane, or diesel,
yeah.
right? So-
Those are just
Yeah.
emergency situations.
So
And
you
diesel is-
had some interesting stories about the gas lines, baby.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
before you go into that, Jim and Annette Thalman is talking about how in Orlando the flooding
Yep.
happened, and we have friends all across the state of Florida, and this
They
storm.
vacated to Orlando.
Oh, to Orlando.
because of flooding.
Oh,
Get
but
out of
Dylan
it.
Seaman, it's a 52-foot pirate boat. Yeah.
but we have friends across the state that actually did have roof damage and wind damage, like terrible damage. And because of that damage, they have like flood damage from the storm. So much.
So Z Show Cruise Fun asked a great question. Do they have a curfew? Actually, in the cities they do, but we're actually considered rural where we're at. So there's not, we did have the National Guard stop by to make sure everybody's okay. Tessa Mon says solar. Yeah, a lot of solar panels became Frisbees. Now, and actually to me, that's one of the scariest things to see as I'm driving through is to see poles that are there. And there's 3 or 4 pieces of steel that are wrapped around that pole like a Christmas paper. Those were flying through the air at 100 miles an hour. Right?
Yeah, all the sheets of metal,
So
right?
that to me is probably the scariest part of a hurricane is that.
Oh, wow. Lucretia Boutard is in the house. Hi, Lucretia.
Hello to anyone we didn't get to say hello
Yes.
to yet. We're not trying to
Absolutely.
ignore you. Also, Tess Almond appreciates my pronunciation of the word scenario. Thank you. That made me smile.
Yeah.
So you had
So-
some real stressful encounters with gas, right, Anthony?
Yeah. So and Mike from Nebraska, there has to be something else to have the entire bay empty. Yeah, that was just I guess Rich said it was the weirdest thing. He's never seen it before. He was really expecting flooding too, but it just didn't happen because of
I
that
think
for us.
they're asking
Why
about the
didn't the
hurricane
company
prep
do
because
the prep
they
for you?
decided
Oh.
to evacuate instead of prep.
Yes.
It was
well,
partly our fault. I think we were asking to close the house too late.
that
Yeah.
was part
And
of
it
it.
was
Yeah.
our lack of foresight.
We have to be more prepared in the future and
Right.
give notice earlier.
We
Right.
should have done it a day or two before. The tricky thing is we do Airbnb out of that house.
So we did
and
have guests.
we
in
did
there.
have guests leaving on Tuesday,
Yeah.
which we probably should have just talked with the guests and had that all
Them close it up.
negotiated and just either
Jim
have
and
the
Annette,
guests.
yeah. Jim and
Close
Annette
it.
said gas at Costco a Sunday in Clearwater was $2.93. Yeah, it's still $3.10 down here because it's a little harder to get down there. But once we get that resolved, it should clear up.
But the state of Florida has a thing during October where they purposefully
They
have
eliminate
a
the gas
relief,
tax.
a gas relief where they're down where the prices are down for the state of Florida by a quarter a quarter per gallon.
Yeah.
So the special.
So if you don't have electricity, for most people, our world lives in with the electric grid. It's amazing what just a couple days without the electric grid does to society.
Oh, it's an essential utility. It's
Yeah, so
essential
people are buying gas like as much as possible. So a really good generator at 50% capacity will typically use it. An average generator will typically use about 6 gallons of gas every 9 hours. And a lot of people want to keep their house going 24 hours a day, 7 days.
These are not whole house generators you're talking
No,
about.
these
You're
are
talking
small
about a
ones.
smaller
The
generator.
larger ones, the whole house take even more, right?
Well,
Yeah.
So,
obviously.
yeah, just the average generator that you get from Lowe's or
Active
Home Depot.
emergency generator.
Yeah. So a lot of people want to just really keep, Mercy Rodriguez, I agree. Yeah.
We live
So,
in Andrew. Yeah.
Andrew I think is in one
In
of the top
Miami.
3.
Dylan
Yeah.
said the same thing about Katerina.
Katrina did, and
Katrina, yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So what ends up happening is that there's just a lot of hoarding that takes place, and B, a lot of civilization.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Everybody's in I need it
yeah.
more than you.
Everyone's
Well-
stressed.
mentality.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when I came in, I did not have any gas cans. Could not find any in Miami. Everybody's sold out of gas
No
cans.
gas cans.
Like
yes.
just the can, just something to hold the
So I
gas.
had to come to the house. We do have 4 gas cans at the house. So I had to get to the house to do it. But then I'm in the area where it's hard to get gas, right? So that's the
It's where the
difficult thing.
hurricane hit.
Right. So by driving over here, I was down to 170 miles remaining on the tank of gas in my rental. So I decided on Saturday to go over. We heard that there was some gas at the Wawa just north of me here in Punta Gorda. And so I headed over there to do that. I sat in the line for 2 hours to get to that. Incredibly non-civil situations where people were trying to cut in the line. There were a lot of weapons that were pulled. There was a lot of name calling and other types of interesting dialogue and adjectives for people. But it
so
was
glad I didn't deal with that.
yeah. But for 2 hours I sat in line. I was 20 cars away from the pump and they closed it because they ran out of fuel. So I was at that point down to about 70 miles remaining on the car. So I did go out one more time on Saturday night, midnight, to see what was open, see what was going on. Started to see that they had already returned power to the water company, which ended up turning on Sunday. So we ended up getting water back on Sunday.
Hallelujah. The water came back.
The water came back. So that's a big one.
You were there, without water, running
Right.
water.
Yeah.
We had bottled water.
Right. But, toilets and other things like that. So you have to use pool water in order to
Like
kind of.
hygiene. You need
Yeah.
running water
Yeah.
for hygiene.
Yeah. So, that was good to see on Saturday, like at 1 a.m., but there was no gas stations open. Nobody was really available. That brought me down to about 50 miles remaining. So then on Sunday morning, I was going to try and get to church. I thought, well, at least I'll get to church, see what's going on, see if I can help anybody in the community, just see what's going on. The church was actually closed. So the Tamiami Bridge 41 between Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda was closed. At the same time,
Bridge instability, right?
yeah, bridge instability. It was the same issue that was going on Interstate 75 going north from here. So the only bridge, so I could kind of get around, but it was difficult. So I decided to go back over towards Wawa, and Pilot was supposed to be, both Wawa and Pilot were supposed to be getting a tanker of fuel. So I thought, well, okay, there's 2 of them there. I should be able to get in. By the time I drove over to there, I was about an quarter of a mile away, and I was already down to like 20 miles remaining on the tank of gas. I talked to the people in the line. It was 3 hours in the line, and I knew from the prior experience I wasn't going to be able to do anything. So I just parked the car and I grabbed one
You
can.
couldn't actually get
Yeah.
through the
I
line
grabbed
with
one
the gas
can and I
tank.
walked up. Pilot would not allow me to walk up to the pumps at all. And Wawa, I got bounced around between deputies, but eventually they just made me wait for a while to just kind of be fair. And then they just cleared it out for one one tank to be able to put it
One
in.
5-gallon
Yep. I heard a lot of
handheld
names.
tank because he basically said, I have no gas.
In my
Yep.
car
I have
to get
no
home.
way to
Yep.
get.
It's basically
I'm
Yeah,
saying
I'm out of gas, so I'm gonna just sit here and I'll just
it's
wait.
either I get gas or I wait. And
I'm
I'll
just
be
gonna wait here,
for-
right? So that's what I told him.
Yeah.
And it was just one tank. I wasn't looking to fill up a lot of things, just a
Yeah.
5-gallon tank. So it was very clear I wasn't trying to gouge or get extra for anything. I did get the gas. I heard a lot of rude suggestions from people of things that are really technically not possible for a human being to do, but they decided to still tell me them. A lot of really bad name calling that. So I went back, I got the gas in the car, and now I was up to 190 miles an hour. So I had been listening at night,
190 miles an
190
hour.
gallons.
miles an hour, right?
Gallons.
No, 190 miles
Miles.
range.
Miles
Gallons are what, miles to
190
empty. Okay.
Miles till empty.
So I had been listening to ham radio that night. I've got some radios down here to listen to some of the hams that are talking back and forth. And they were talking about up in Sarasota that there was a number of tanker trucks that were filling up the 7-Elevens that were about 5-6 miles off of Interstate 75.
Now,
So
you
it's
just
not
got
directly-
those ham radios for cruising, didn't you?
I did.
Just
I did.
recently.
Yes.
So this is my geeky man. He likes to geek out a little bit.
So I was listening to these guys talk about that, and I'm like, so I had 190 miles of range. I thought, I'll try and head up to Sarasota. And so I checked on the map. Interstate 75 was open. All right, so I decided to go up there. Now, the interesting thing about Interstate 75 is it goes across several rivers. Some of those rivers had breached their banks and had breached other areas. There were new waterfalls in places there shouldn't have been waterfalls. And it was very interesting. I also saw a number of really sad situations where people were in pontoon boats trying to clear out houses that were right by the river.
Terrible.
It
I
was
just
really
want to
sad.
mention quick, SAK Travel Adventures. Anthony's reminding me of Hurricane Hugo back in 1989
Yes.
when it hit St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. It took 4 months to finally get the power back. Phone and TV took longer.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy
Right.
We have
cow.
a
Now
super
that-
chat from
Another
Lucretia
six balls.
Boutard.
Yep.
Oh, Lucretia Boutard.
Miss your
thank
beautiful
you.
faces. Most of all, Nancy's laugh. So happy you're safe. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, Lucretia, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the super chat. You are so
So
sweet.
yeah, so I went up to Sarasota, and it was the land of gas and nachos. No, gas and chicken sandwiches instead of milk and honey.
Sylvia, I just have to give a shout out to Sylvia. She's been listening
hi,
to the
Sylvia.
hurricane story. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I got to that, and it was really good. I was one car behind. I had thought I had put a 1-liter bottle of water, and I could not find it in the car when I was traveling. I wasn't trying too hard, but I got behind this one car. There was nobody in it. It was a prepay situation, so there's no credit cards right now because of the internet, et cetera, et cetera. And trying to make the story shorter. But I got out of the car looking for the water. The gal in front of me thought I was angry with her, and that's why I was running around my car. I said, no, I'm looking for this water bottle. And she goes, oh, you're lying. And I'm like, no, seriously, I was. I told her, I said, look, do you want me to do a little jig for you to show you that I'm not angry with you? And she laughed and she says, I'm sorry, I didn't. She says, everybody here is quite tense. And just as she says that, right next couple things away, there's a truck that's backing into this little black vehicle. And the vehicle had left in front of her. She was going to pull up this big truck, used truck with big tires on it, decides to try and back up into her.
Into another car that was parked
Into
there.
another
to
car,
get gas.
being very rude about it. The woman that was in the truck jumped out. She starts yelling more adjectives, which should not be said to another human being. Was really rude.
The lady in the truck was, right?
Yeah, and so the gal in the car backed up enough to get the truck in and got out and said, you can just treat me like a human. Just ask if I'd back up. I would have. It's not a big thing. Everybody's going to
All
get
the
gas,
attitudes, yeah.
right? This woman had none of it that was in the truck. She was going off and got even worse and worse and worse to the point that the guy jumps out. He's showing a badge. It looks like a fake badge. Then he pulls out a gun. Then half of the gas station is getting between the woman and this guy with a gun to protect this woman because she was clearly not in the wrong. She was being
The
really
woman that you're talking about is not the woman in the truck
woman
that
in the
no,
jumped
the
out.
woman in the little car was
Yeah.
being yelled at by the woman in the truck.
Yeah.
So the
So crazy.
owner of the 7-Eleven store was a woman as well. The owner comes out, starts yelling at the truck woman, saying, "Get back in the truck, get out of here. I'm calling the cops. You're not supposed to be doing this." I mean, it was just a horrendous situation.
Crazy.
She handled it so well.
The
Just really,
storekeeper, yeah, the clerk.
yeah, especially in the face of people brandishing weapons. I mean, you know, most gals don't do that, but she just jumped right in. She was awesome.
Yeah.
The rest of the people were really great about
And
getting there.
Anthony is very much a pro appropriate weapon.
Carry, yeah.
But you
Oh,
gotta use your weapons appropriately.
Yeah.
You don't
Yep.
just
And I
use them.
I had my weapon there. I just never pulled it. I didn't see a need to because this guy, the way he was.
What is wrong with people?
He's
Says
all-
Bill MGM. Just
Yeah,
it's
right?
everybody just
Far-
being so tense.
But
I
that
feel.
situation-
Concerned, the best thing you can do in an emergency situation is remain kind and stay patient.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that I learned about this in this situation is that 85% of the people that were at the pump and were in that area were supporting the woman who was distressed by this truck, right, in the little car. That was the greatest thing to see. Everybody was standing behind her. They were,
Yeah, so people being together. Tess said a funny comment. What's wrong with people? These people need to be banned from cruising in the least.
trust me, from their truck, I would say they probably, and what they were doing, I don't think they were cruisers, but this is not the attitude that we get from the cruise community in general.
Hopefully
know,
not,
right.
not unless the
But
people are
I really
fighting with
saw
others.
the positive side of this, that people really do, they're banding together. And that's one of the things that I've been seeing across all of this is the people who are helping out, people who get stuck on the side of the road, run out of gas, helping them, driving them to a gas station,
It's
waiting for them to
America.
get gas and
It's
bring it
America.
back. I mean, neighbors, strangers helping strangers, and people being just
Human.
generally civil to each other and having civil society. And then there's that few, the rare few who get out there and are absolute Kevins and Karens. And my brother's a Kevin, so but his
Well,
name.
they're definitely
name, right? Everybody knows what that means,
noisy,
yeah.
yeah.
Not the specific names, but just that general personality of I'm entitled. I have a badge, therefore I should be able to get gas whenever I want, type of a thing. And it's
Well, it kind of goes with the theme. One of the more recent rules, Carnival's been having such trouble with the fights, not such trouble, but having somewhat, they get a lot of bad publicity about fights happening on their ships, and they have had it with that. So there's a new rule that just was announced that if a fight breaks out, and you are in a fight, you get charged up, I think, starting $500, and then you have to pay for the guard that watches you, and pay for you to get off of the ship and all of that, and as well as being banned for life. So just not worth it. Plus,
Poor decision.
just treating people, just because you're stressed does not give you the right to
we're all in it together, people, and
take
it's
it
just
out on others.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not me over you or me versus.
no, it's me
you.
with you working
Yeah,
together.
it shouldn't be people too. I feel like the reason people are like that is because they have that mentality of me versus you. It's a fight. Whereas
Yeah.
it's really emergency situations are not. They shouldn't be
Yeah,
a fight. It
working
should be
together.
a community effort.
Blaine really created travel, said people have too many issues. If they would have evacuated, they wouldn't have been so irritable. But that isn't necessarily true, because a lot of people had a lot of loss. You have to realize how much everybody is dealing with.
Everybody's
loss,
under a lot of stress,
a ton
right?
of stress, and you hate to leave your property for too long, because you could get squatters, you could get
Thieves.
people who are stealing things. That's
Yeah.
the reason why the curfew happened. I
Yeah.
don't think that person with the badge was a police officer.
No. The badge looked too fake. So, and you talk about squatters. We had somebody who thought, because where our property is listed, they thought that they could rent the place without us being here, and decided that they were going to come. They knocked on the door and demanded that they be allowed to stay at the place when I had no water, no electricity,
It was
no
just
internet.
not safe. Yeah.
Yeah, we still had damage with that needed to be repaired on the house. There's no way for them to do any laundry or do anything else. It was just a bad situation, and I didn't want them to be stuck here with that. They
Yeah.
needed to find someplace better, but they were insistent that, hey, we booked it and therefore it's ours, and they didn't book it, but they kind of did, but they didn't. And yeah, it's just if I had not been here, I'm sure that they would have come in and stayed. Just because they needed to have a place to stay. And I felt bad for them. I wanted to be able to put them up, but there's nothing I could have done at that point.
It was just not a safe
It's just not.
situation. It was just like while the storm was starting to rage, kind of start up, we
Yeah.
had people who were requesting. We
Yeah.
tried to shut the
Shelter.
house down, but there was people that were requesting to rent our house because they figured that the eye was going to hit them, or the storm was going to hit them, and we were going to be safe. We couldn't, we had to deny them because we said our house will not necessarily be safe. And it ended up being that our area was hit harder than their area was that they were coming
Wow.
through. So
Mary Ellen Dillon says, yes, Tess, debarkation was delayed as a couple of weeks ago for police to remove a group of people from the ship. Like, that's before you even leave. That's crazy.
yeah.
Um,
Crazy Cat says that the pandemic has upped everyone's anxiety and anger issues. I think that's somewhat true. Yeah, for sure.
I think it is true, but on the other hand, I think
we can't
I
use it
think
as an
that-
excuse.
Yeah. There's an individual who went through the Holocaust. And one of the things that he said is that, and I used to tell you kids this, Hannah, you probably remember this, right?
Mm-hmm.
That between the stimulus and the response, there's a gap.
Oh yeah.
And in that
I hear it
gap,
all the time as a
in
kid.
that gap, you have the ability between the stimulus and your response, you have that ability to make the choice. Now, the gap could be really small because of upbringing, genetics, whatever it is, whatever stress that you've got in your life, or you can lengthen that gap purposefully because
You
you've
can
learned to
train
deal with it.
yourself to lengthen
Right.
that gap.
Correct. The question is that whatever you do in response to the stimulus is going to define you, because you can't take back what you do. So you have to think about between that stimulus and the response, what are you going to do? And he was talking about dealing with the guards at Auschwitz, which is really stressful. But
Terrible.
it's
Horrible.
still in the same thing. He would still give a smile no matter what, because it was his to give.
Yeah.
And because he could choose his attitude and they couldn't change it. And
It's a
so
good lesson,
there's-
honey.
it's something that we all have to consider is that when we're frustrated with security and how they're not handling things well on Carnival or other things,
Where have you been?
it's always good to give yourself, especially as you're doing cruising or doing anything, there's stress that's involved. Even though it's going to be fun, you're going to have some stress, and you just got to try and deal with it. Same thing that's going on here in hurricanes, but it's been a good experience just in seeing the goodness of people, seeing people come together. There's just a lot of suffering that's going on. One of the guys that was on the plane I talked to, he was in Cape Coral, and his entire garage was underwater, and he had just bought a brand new car 2 weeks prior.
Oh no.
Brand new car in the garage is no longer. And so, he was in a really tough situation, and I felt bad for him. I mean, I really, there's only so much I can do.
But then you do learn how to count
Listen
your
to it,
blessings. There's people who have died with this one.
Yes.
Oh,
They
yeah,
have
It
been
is.
killed
That's how
by
Mon
this.
says, kill them with kindness and smiles. Well, not literally kill them, of course. I don't know.
Yeah,
You know?
Tess, I appreciate that. Yeah.
So and I've had enough training. I've had enough training in stressful situations that I should know better. I have not been good to my training, But down here, I've really been trying to remember those things that I went through, especially like that situation at the gas station, because
you've been
it's,
doing amazingly well, Anthony. You just really
so
have.
it's the cooler heads prevail. And I think, Tess, that's kind of what you're saying. It's the cooler heads that prevail. And because when you stay cool and calm in a situation, you can at least start thinking about options. Like when I offered to do a jig for that gal who was really angry with me because she thought I was angry with her, right? You know, just doing things to throw people off. I've done that before. I've been in a stressful situation where I've walked up to a guy and I gave him a kiss on the cheek because he felt like he felt like he was, and he said, "I feel unloved." So I walked up to him, gave him a hug and a kiss on the cheek. And I said, "I care about you. I love you. Don't worry about it. You're good."
Yeah.
And it disarmed him so completely that he did end up
was somebody that was it was like an appropriate situation.
very aggressive. Very
Yeah,
aggressive.
but it wasn't like
Absolutely.
it
No,
wasn't like
Swan, I was never in the service, but I have had training and I have worked with a number of situations. So yeah, I've got a lot of training in that environment for other reasons. But
so
yeah.
so we've been getting power back though. That
Yeah.
just came
So
back.
we got power back, we got water back. We just got internet back at 2:00 this
Well, you can
afternoon.
see him. Why he's
Otherwise,
here
I'd be
tonight.
on the cell
just,
phone.
yeah, just
Wasn't
today.
originally
Yeah.
going to be
I
part
still
of
do
it.
not have the keys to the car. So I actually got a ride from our neighbor who lost a portion of their house. I got a ride from her. She
So
was
I'm
going
gonna
in town to get food.
interject here just a little bit. So we had issues with our prior car that was down in Florida, and of course, just prior to our last cruise, like literally just days before our last cruise, the vehicle, Anthony was doing repairs on it. We did talk about this on the live stream, but it's okay. Not everybody is at all the live streams, but he ended up doing some repairs on it, and the car was going downhill anyway. Blew a head gasket on that one vehicle, and ended up very quickly having to get a different vehicle. So we got a new vehicle, new to us vehicle. Took the other, had the other one sold for scrap. And so then but the thing about the new vehicle, one key from
Right
our
now,
new Kia.
currently.
Yes.
And
Dylan
so-
Seaman has a super chat.
Dylan, I did see that. Thank you so much, Dylan. Really appreciate
Yeah, really,
it.
thank you.
Real
So
talk, and thanks for all the fun. Shooey, that would not make Anthony's day. So I
No.
will give you a toast.
I got nothing to
So
say.
So the one key I brought to Wisconsin's because I was going to get two more. Have the key cut. You have to actually get it cut. And it's one of those.
in Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those toy 40s. It's Toyota 40 millimeter, and it's a really special key. So I was going to get him cut.
Design.
I didn't think I was going to be down here sooner, so I left them up there. I was coming from Vegas to here, so I didn't have those keys with me. So Nancy tried to send them down via UPS. Was ensured that they'd be here by Monday. Was
Yesterday
promised,
noon.
guaranteed that they'd be here Monday
This
noon.
is
and
a
they
lot
weren't.
of money. A lot of money
And they
to
aren't.
get them down.
So today I actually caught a ride with my neighbor down to the UPS service center, which is about 2 miles from our place, and got a ride down there, talked with them, found out it's in my package is in a 40-foot trailer that they had strapped down in the yard. And they're still waiting for internet to come back so that they can get online and check
Sort
everything
through them
in.
and figure out.
They thought it was going to be happening tonight, and I actually didn't know I had internet until I got home from there. So I think it was during
Especially
that.
because the way modern mail systems work is the little barcode you have on your package. They scan, it tells them exactly where it's going.
It's all computerized.
It's all computerized. So
Yeah.
if you don't have the internet,
So she was able to look it up because they had received the manifest for that trailer, so she knew where it was. But they couldn't empty out the trailer because they'd have to go through all the packages to sort it to find it.
So lots of prayers that you get these keys so that you can actually have a vehicle, because the rental had to go back.
Yeah.
It had to go back. So yeah.
And we had a little bit
So-
of stress trying to extend because
Well,
he had no internet.
No
down there.
internet.
So he had no way to contact the rental company because it was all done through their app.
So thankfully, I up here in Wisconsin, thankfully he never lost, like you always had
Cellular.
cell service. So that was a saving
Mhm.
grace. That kept me from being completely in the dark for what
Blind,
was
yeah.
happening down there.
Yeah.
And it's been quite the story. I know this has not been a lot of cruise chat here, you
Yeah,
guys.
no,
but
just what's been going on because everybody's kind of going through it and just kind of sharing our stories for what's taking place.
and we do have, several thousands of dollars worth of damage, but it's nothing compared to
A lot of
so many people.
Yeah, so we're
Wow.
really thankful, but there is some crew stuff that, as I was trying to relate, there is some crew stuff that's related to it because you're going through, things like that. I
Like
can
that
just,
security tension.
yes, exactly. I can just
Yeah.
imagine, like,
Steve
like
just
when,
said, "You look amazing, especially with everything you've gone through." We have lots of sleeping area, and everything is dry in the house. So you just
Yeah.
didn't have air conditioning for the longest time, right?
yeah, but we had cool nights, and that was
Cool
really
weather,
nice.
Yeah, the cool front came down.
Yeah, so I was just trying to stay out of the sun during the daytime. So yeah.
Mm.
Aw.
Oh, Shauna. Oh my goodness, Shauna. I will respond to you. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to
Thank you
miss
for the
you.
super chat.
Reached out at the last live stream about advice. So
She doesn't even respond to some of my notifications.
No, I'm not great. I'll try to look specifically, Shauna. I will. I apologize.
He does from time to time. It's just recently, I think, with everything going on here, we
It's
just
been
haven't
an
had a chance.
overwhelming week.
Yes.
Thank you for the super chat, though, Shauna. Thank you.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're
So, Blaine, I agree with you. So many people lost lives and property. Prayers for all of our Floridians
definitely.
and South Carolina friends and anyone else. Yeah. And like I said, I have a coworker that's in South Carolina, and it didn't hit them as bad as they thought it would. The thing is that the rains and the flooding
A lot
are
of people
doing
have had such rain.
are a lot of the damage in this one. This one has really been a heavy flood situation.
Because it picked up so much water from the
Yeah.
ocean, and then
Some of the areas in Orlando got 1 foot to 4 feet of water just because of the drop during that time. So yeah, it's
so
crazy.
much. Well,
And all
we're
that's
out.
going into rivers coming back. Yeah.
We're out of time, but definitely, please, everybody, keep
Thank you,
those
everybody.
that have
We'll
suffered
be back on
and
cruising.
continue to
hopefully next
suffer.
week.
Keep them in your prayers.
keep yourself safe.
It has. I
and-
love this, Jim and Annette Thalman. This has been a doozy of a week.
Also,
Yes, it
make
has.
sure those in the affected area keep yourself safe and look
Yep.
out for each other.
Yeah, take care of each other. Absolutely.
All right.
All right. Until next time. All right, you guys.
Safe travels.
Thank you so much for following along. Safe travels.
God bless.
Bye,
Good
you guys.